the foods that we're eating, we're not getting enough nutrients from those foods. The soils
Yeah.
that it's grown in now are sprayed with glyphosate, which are
Yeah.
insecticides, pesticides, herbicides.
Terrible, eh?
Exactly. And what that does is it kills the microbiome of the soil. So
Mm.
if our foods are now grown in soil that's dead, it means that we're not able to get as much nutrients into those foods, and we're eating those foods, so we're now eating less nutrient dense food.
All right, welcome everyone to episode 6. Would you believe it? The High Performance Management Podcast. So I'm joined with Tynan, who's is an online entrepreneur and gut health expert. So we're just gonna be diving real deep into his journey through, poor gut health to improving it, how he mentors his current clients. We'll even touch on e-commerce, how we're gonna live in society in the next 5 years with this unstable economy as it is, and how probably your job isn't really going to do it for you if you want to make some type of success. But yeah, we're gonna dive in deep. Really excited to have this type of chat. Learn some more as well about the gut, as it's kind of an untouched subject for me. So be real open ears for you today. But yeah, thanks for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it. Yeah, how's your day been? We doing well?
Thanks for having me, man. Really. Yeah, I'm here on the Gold Coast. I'm originally from Adelaide. I moved up here a year ago. But today on the Gold Coast is wet. We've got a storm that's been coming in.
Is that unusual for the Gold Coast? I have no idea, to be honest.
It is actually.
Yeah,
I've been hearing from the
sunny days.
locals that it's been the coldest season for this time in the year in the last 40 years. So it's not, yeah, it's not proportion to how the Gold Coast is usually. It's usually more sunny, the sun's out, this and that. But yeah, there's a storm coming in and
Oh
yeah.
no! So you've moved over to go to the Sunshine Coast, and it's the opposite in first time in 40 years.
That's what I'm saying. I've
You're
come from
joking.
Adelaide, cold Adelaide, up to here, and where's the sunshine?
Yeah, you brought Adelaide with you, mate.
No. Oh, hopefully there's more good luck coming. No more bad omens. Only good luck.
Yeah, hopefully. No, this happens though. You look all through history, the Earth is gone and fluctuated in temperatures and water levels. So hopefully it's just that.
That's true.
We're just waiting
Yeah.
on the Great Reset.
Jeez, man. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole topic, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
What even is that? What even is the Great Reset?
Yeah, I think everything happens in cycles. It's all
Yes.
documented in nature. We go through cycles. You're not constantly up and you're not constantly down either. It's an interesting one. I did that for like 30 days. I just measured my mood at the start of every day. And I realized I was like, there's literally a cycle that I can predict. And then there's also like, because I specialize in burnout, I was like, oh, there's a week that happens every 7 weeks approximately for me. And I just like drop off the face of the earth. And it's not burnout. It's just, I realized there's a 7 week cycle where I'll have clarity on what I'm doing, but then my internal values shift. And maybe what was the first priority becomes the third. And it's I find that week is where I reschedule everything. It's just interesting. Cycles everywhere, man.
I think they have a name for that. And I think specifically women have a name for that for men. I think it's called a man period. I don't know though.
Oh yeah, it sounds like
I mean?
we'll go with it. I wonder if I can get a tampon for my man period and not have that week off. That'd be fantastic.
For sure. But it's interesting, and I reckon there's a lot of variables in there. And I wonder if you tried to control any of those variables. For example, like fasting.
Yeah.
Seeing how you feel when you fast and you don't potentially eat breakfast until midday.
Yeah, I love fasting, man. I do it all every day.
Yeah. Or then even going on a coffee fast, which easier said than done. I haven't actually done this in years. But the point is, measuring some of those variables, or even measuring limiting your sugar, so you can measure your blood sugar, your glucose spike, etc. Seeing how that.
Yeah, there's heaps of new technology for measuring glucose now, eh? Like there's that new one that goes in your arm. Like, have you seen that? That's crazy. It literally measures your glucose levels. Like it's a whole new level of tracking all that stuff. Oh, that's cool. I reckon we'll dive into that stuff. So like it sounds like you're a bit of a biohacker there, and you measure your own, like how those type of things impact your own performance. Like, what's kind of like, how did you get into all of that? Like, what made you even start looking at manipulating, what you eat, what you spend time doing, the people you're around to obviously increase performance? I know you've got a few businesses, so yeah, I guess let's start there. That sounds really interesting.
For sure. So I guess I'm your classic kid in school, high school. I was quite skinny, and being a young man, or like a boy at the time, I kind of got obsessed with trying to get bigger, trying to put on weight. So it started there. I started eating the wrong foods to put on weight. I was eating a lot of bread, which is the likes of your gluten. So gluten being bread and pasta. I was just pumping the dairy, refined sugar, burgers, pizza, whatever I could, just to put on weight in the gym.
Yeah, which would have worked, but at what cost, eh?
Exactly. But the thing was, I was working out so hard and I wasn't able to show my muscle.
Yeah.
I was just looking a bit bloated and puffy. It wasn't giving me the shape, the body that I really wanted. So I grew up in a pretty alternative environment. So my mum, she's a naturopath.
Yeah.
And she's been a naturopath my whole life. And then my father, he is a vegetarian and had been a vegetarian my whole life. Mum and dad aren't together. But the point is I grew up in that super alternative environment. So I've always my whole life had my mum telling me don't drink and eat at the same time, chew my food really well. We didn't have certain foods in the home. So like our treats were plain flavored crisps and mineral water.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that was a treat, you know what I mean? So me and my brother, we had this low-key addiction to soda water, mineral water. Like the fresh, opening the bottle, the new fresh bottle. This is heaven. So I grew up in that environment, but I never really listened to my mum so much. I was like, mum, what do you mean?
Went in your ear, out the
other. Oh, what do you mean? I want to drink water with my dinner. I'm thirsty right now. No, I didn't understand that, or I didn't really care because that was my mum. To me, it wasn't anything special. I didn't realize that my mum, was a leading naturopath within Australia. She has 35 plus years experience. She knew what she wanted to do from a young age when she lost her mother. So the point is that I knew this information. I grew up with that, but I still went down the rabbit hole of YouTube and trying to figure it out myself. But there was so much misinformation from the likes of other bodybuilders who, they're on their own testosterone replacement therapy, this or that. And I was listening to them on what they eat, cheat days, and I was just not getting the body that I wanted. So it wasn't until I listened to my mother and I started to follow a protocol that she set out. And in this protocol, it was number one, get rid of the trigger foods. So what are trigger foods? They are the likes of gluten, dairy, refined sugar, and deli meats. And the interesting part, the reason that deli meat triggers inflammation in the body is because it has a preservative, and that preservative is called nitrate. So nitrate preserves the shelf life of the deli meat, ham, salami, whatever, prosciutto. But what it does is it acts like an antibiotic in the gut.
Right,
so it can affect the gut bacteria in the gut, and it can cause a dysbiosis, which means unbalance with the gut bacteria. So you've got more bad bacteria to the good. So that's the reason why deli meats can cause inflammation in the gut and why they are a trigger food. But the point is that we get rid of those trigger foods. So we lower inflammation in the body. We then correct nutritional deficiencies. So what does that mean? It means that we now know that the foods that we're eating, we're not getting enough nutrients from those foods.
Which feeds the bacteria, right?
Exactly. The soils that it's grown in now are sprayed with glyphosate, which are insecticides, pesticides, herbicides.
Terrible.
Exactly. And what that does is it kills the microbiome of the soil, which means that the foods that we grow our foods in the soil, that bacteria is responsible for the chemical reaction. So if our foods are now grown in soil that's dead, it means that we're not able to get as much nutrients into those foods, and we're eating those foods. So we're now eating less nutrient dense food.
Yeah.
So we correct our nutritional deficiencies. How do we do that? We supplement minerals, we supplement enzymes, probiotics, antioxidants, anti-inflammatory blends of foods. So first of all, we're lowering inflammation in the body. We're getting rid of the trigger foods. We're then correcting nutritional deficiencies by supplementing natural medicine. But then we're also, number 3, we're following digestive principles. So what does it mean, digestive principles? There's 3. The first one is not drinking and eating at the same time. So why don't we drink and eat at the same time? When you chew your food, from your saliva, there's enzymes. And those enzymes are the first point of contact in assisting breaking down the food. So those enzymes from your saliva, they start the chemical reaction in breaking the food down. So if we're drinking and eating at the same time, we dilute those enzymes.
True, that makes sense. I've not thought about that, eh? That's actually really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're not able to do their job properly, which would be the first point of contact, assist in breaking the food down. The food then gets to your stomach acid, which is just made up of other enzymes. And that's where the other chemical reaction, and we want that food to be broken down as well as possible so it can be absorbed through the blood, go into our bloodstream, etc., go to the organs, the body parts that we need.
Yeah, right.
So that's the first digestive principle. We're not drinking and eating at the same time. We're waiting 15 minutes in between. So for example, if we want to drink water before dinner, we drink, we wait 15 minutes, we have our dinner, then we wait another 15 minutes after to drink liquids again. Yeah. So that's one of the digestive principles. The second one is chewing our food really well. And that's on the back of the first. And the reason is because by chewing our food really well, we increase the surface space so that those enzymes can bind to the food.
Yeah, right. I'm definitely guilty of that. I eat so fucking fast. my missus, she always says like, "Oh, you should chew your food." Like, how many times is it? Like, how many times do you have to chew?
Or like 40 times per mouthful, they say.
See, that seems crazy to me, but like I understand the principle. It totally makes sense. Yeah, right. Okay, so your timing for your water intake and food 15 minutes, and then the chewing. So
that's for efficient digestion. So number 2, we want to chew our food like we drink our water, and drink our water like we chew our food. So what does that mean? I know, meditate on that for a sec. So we're wanting to be chewing our food until it's liquid-like. And then we want to be drinking our water like we chew our food. So we want to be drinking it in small gulps, not big gulps, wenching it down. So that's for the digestion. And then number 3, the third digestive principle, and this is the best one because this is where the gut actually repairs itself. And the third...
And by the gut, you mean, because it's obviously like from mouth, technically it's from mouth to anus. So like which part?
The gut in your stomach.
Yeah.
But no, it's the whole gut, and coming down from when you chewing the esophagus, to the small colon, etc. But the point is that the third digestive principle is mono eating. So what is mono eating?
I heard that one.
Yeah. So mono means one. So by having one vegetable and one protein, you're actually allowing the gut to focus on digesting the one vegetable and the one protein, because it requires different enzymes to break down different vegetables, different carbs. It requires different enzymes to break down different proteins, and it requires different enzymes to break down different fats. So if we're eating big mixture of meals, it requires more energy in order to break those foods down properly. So we can absorb it through the gut, goes into the bloodstream. So mono eating is just a tool. It's not a forever thing. But it's a tool whilst we're lowering inflammation, we're getting rid of the trigger foods, we're correcting nutritional deficiencies, and we're also mono eating so the gut can focus on digesting the one protein, the one vegetable. In turn, it has more energy free to be able to repair the gut lining.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so this is this would be for people that, would you say, like, what is typically a bad gut? Like, how would one know if they should follow these protocols? Because like maybe I've got a bad gut, I don't even know, So like what's kind of that process look like? Like how do you know? Like, I assume you've had a similar journey, and maybe that's why like you've started. Like maybe just take us through that. So when would someone apply these principles?
Yeah. So what are symptoms of a non-functioning well gut? What are symptoms of gut issues? First thing is bloating after meals. So you're getting bloating, and I think
inflammation and
I think some girls you can see them like potentially bloggers and stuff, and they will talk about how after a meal, like, look at my tummy now, it's so flat and da da da. This is before I eat. and then this is after, and they show a bit of the bloating and the bulge. So that's a symptom of a non-well functioning gut.
Right.
Another symptom is acid reflux.
Yeah.
Heartburn.
Yeah.
So that's another symptom. That's not normal. We shouldn't be having acid reflux.
Yeah, I know. It is weird. You eat a big high fat meal and you're like, that's not right.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing, some people get itchy skin after they eat. Yeah, some foods, which are trigger foods, generally, it means that they may have, a bit of a reaction. And it's funny enough, eggs are actually a high allergen food. Some people can get itchy skin after that. So that's another symptom. It goes, bloating is number one. That's kind of the main one.
Yeah.
Number two, acid reflux, heartburn. Three, bit of itchy skin.
Yeah.
Four, you might have not so good sleep throughout the night. And
is that because it's taking so long to break down food? So it's like, instead of like repairing your whole body, it's like just still digesting. Is that like kind of why your sleep would be impacted, or?
Yeah, your organs are functioning more, having to, put more stress on the organs.
Yeah.
Especially if one organ's not functioning as well, it then has a play-on effect. The other organs have to work a little bit harder or differently. But there's so many different symptoms of a non-functioning gut. We could go on forever. We could say like less energy, like worse mood, worse sleep, more irritable, low sex drive. Do you know what I mean? But the main ones there are bloating after a meal. So it's good for anyone that's watching this now. They can actually try this. Next time you're eating, see how you feel after you finish your meal. Because again, bloating isn't so normal. It's not something that we should live with. It's become normal within society because we eat highly processed foods. That's it. We could keep talking about that forever.
Yeah, I know. I actually would like to go down the processed food mark because I think like obviously my background being chiropractic and I guess it's kind of analogous with naturopathy, like except for the body. I definitely have that same understanding of the types of processed foods we have. I'd be interested. Anyway,
big time. And this is why I love having conversations with people like you, man. Disclaimer, I'm not a health professional. I'm a trained mentor, but I'm passionate about, through my own learnings and the way that I've helped my body, and I've been able to lower inflammation. I've been able to show my muscles, been able to get a more ideal body that I like. I've been able to get more energy, etc. So as I'll say to the viewers, see how you feel after you have your meal. If you're getting bloating, and if you're having acid reflux, or if you're having heartburn. So what can we do? What are some actionable things that we can do? The first thing is we can chew our food really well. That's so underrated.
That's something I could immediately do. It's easy. Yeah,
exactly. Then number two is not drinking and eating at the same time. So I know it can be hard whilst you're in a routine and a habit. Like, believe me, once I start drinking and eating at the same time, it's freaking hard to stop. It's just like a habit. But if you can, put it off for 2 or 3 days, really be conscious of that. So not drinking and eating at the same time. And then the third that viewers can do at home, and I'm sure actually all of your people that watch your content are in the gym, so they understand protein, but it's having protein with every meal. Pretty basic.
That's really easy, man. I appreciate that. I think that's why I love doing these podcasts, man. Like I just get to meet cool people that give me stuff that I have no idea about. So like that's like super simple steps as well. Like I guess that makes sense why you probably get good results with your clients, because like having something that's complex but being able to teach it simply, that is intelligence. And like you're talking about not being a health expert, but like nowadays, man, like Google, Apple, they don't even require degrees anymore. They would rather you do some online course that's constantly evolving with the industry, because like how fast is information now? Like it's almost stupid to have a set curriculum for like 5 years doing a degree, like, because by the time you finish, especially in like I'm in the sciences, like I'm not finished my degree yet, but in 5 years from now, maybe all the stuff I've learned is literally like wrong. Like genetics, massive ones, been like that for ages. And then epigenetics came out and it's like, oh, hang on, we're not born with a blueprint. You don't just exist and like, that's it. It's the end. It's your environment literally signals the gene, which creates the proteins and that's a massive like paradigm shift. So I don't think necessarily need degrees anymore. I think obviously in the corporate world it helps to have authority, but I genuinely think like how the ancients all learned was through wisdom, through experience. Look at like
Conversation.
Hermetic principles, eostoic knowledge, like that's all come through. So like
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
love, I
appreciate
love, you touched on two things there. Uh, the first one I can't remember, but the second one, epigenetics.
yeah,
Goodness, isn't that a game changer? And just
100%.
like really understanding what that means, like what does that mean? It means that, so my father's an alcoholic and he suffers with depression. So this means that I'm not genetically going to inherit that, although society tells us that I've got a predisposition to alcohol.
Yeah, which like it's technically not wrong, but we also
Sure.
know that like the environment signals a gene. So
That's right.
it's like you're not depressed because and you can't go to the gym. You're depressed because you're not going to the gym because the environment signals the gene to not be depressed.
I
Because
love
you've
it.
got certain peptides in your brain that like if you react to a certain like this is why people get addicted to their emotions. Like if you and that's what a personality is. It's a collection of emotions and behaviors over a longer sustained period of time that your brain it will just it will wire that pattern and it will become a habit. You'll
Yes.
have a habit to react angrily in traffic, and it's like because your body will expect that emotion when something like that happens. You've got receptors in the brain which are more have a higher affinity to receiving that chemical stimulus. That's
Yes.
like that's insane. So like though we can change those peptides, which is going to be receiving the chemical input through epigenetics, which is like your thought, and that's how the idea of like your thoughts literally create reality. If you think a thought multiple times, it becomes wired, and like you literally create synapses. You create matter in your own brain. Like what? That's
Big time.
insane.
Big
Yeah,
time. And then talking about disease. So if cancer, these sort of diseases, they're so prevalent now, aren't they,
yeah,
within our families, right? We all have grandparents or parents or etc. that have these sort of diseases. But I
yeah,
love about epigenetics because just because my father has cancer, I'm just using it as an example. My father has cancer. It doesn't mean that I am going to get cancer,
yeah,
and we can control that by our
yeah,
environment.
yeah.
And that in itself is just so liberating, so
And
freeing.
yeah, I think it's quite hard as well for people to accept because obviously cancer is like it's fucked. Like it's terrible. It decimates families and lives and quality of life. And obviously we've got modern tools to beat it. But that's a hard pill to swallow for some people that have gone through it. But like that's kind of my mission is like I want to open up, hopefully the next few years a medical center that focuses on all this new type of technology because like there's like Joe Dispenza who's conducting like massive clinical studies on how thought impacts your genes and how you can go into remission from like certain diseases, healing gut through mind, and like he's literally an example. He shattered all of his vertebrae in a massive car accident, and the doctors were like, no, you've got to go to this surgery, like you become paralyzed. And he literally sat there for 6 months closing his eyes, visualizing each vertebrae healing together with his brain, and like within 6-something months, I don't know, which is like unheard of. They said it was going to be like a 2-3 year repair time. He was walking, and it's like, mate, like placebo is real. We know placebo is real. Like some medicines, the placebo outperforms the medicine. So it's like,
Yes.
what's that? I think that's a real interesting one. It's like,
Yes.
powers that be that control what
Yes.
this society runs on, which I get it. We're all in a business and like they're all doing the best they can as well. But there is these alternatives out there which sound a bit crazy to other people that it's happened. There's things out there where you can bloody change how your body is working through the thought, which is like, that's a whole new thing. Like next 10-15 years, we'll see that.
Exactly.
It, yeah.
Pull on that thread. You know what I mean? Like pull on that thread of
Yeah.
placebo. We don't talk about that, but within doctors, they understand this. This
Yeah.
is information. But the the sad part is, and can I swear?
Of course, mate. I've already sworn, mate.
It's YouTube,
Mate.
man. You know what I mean? I know that you pop it on YouTube. Don't censor us, YouTube. Don't censor. You know what I mean? So, what was I saying? I've forgotten the point there, but the point was pull on the thread of the placebo. So now the doctors, health professionals, they have this information, but they're not allowed to necessarily teach it.
No.
Like, what the fuck? So you're now giving a human information, but you're wanting a human to continue to prescribe, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, antipsychotic medications that now potentially don't work. In fact, they make some symptoms worse.
Yeah.
But you now have to continue to prescribe. But the worst part is you're giving doctors now the information about placebo. You're now showing them, yeah, this worked, but you just got to hold on to that yourself, and you're not allowed to recommend or teach it to your customers or your clients. That's insane. And that's why the medical system is kind of fucked, man. It's kind of skewed. It's kind of outdated.
100%.
And it's kind of old school. So this ties into the next thing, which is what you were saying. And that's alternative education. And that's why that's why I believe that you're going to be wildly successful, dude. Wildly. For the information that you're teaching. Me too. I know it's only a matter of time before I am able to help more people. But the point is that alternative education. This is a new industry that is expected to boom, like insanely boom. Because you look at the education system now, I don't know the numbers. I'm not going to pretend like I know the numbers, but it'll be in the trillions, right? Or you get what I'm saying?
Like, you mean like education debt and things like that?
Exactly right.
It's actually, you're bang on. In America, it's literally trillions of dollars. Like, more than credit card debt is education loan debt, which is retarded. Because even that in itself, right? Like, imagine being 17, fresh out of high school. You go to the bank and you go, hey, can I get $100,000 loan? They're like, no way, you're 17. You're a high risk. We're not going to give you a loan. And then you go to uni and go, hey, I want to do this degree. Oh, no worries. Let's give you $100,000 loan. Like, what is that? How does that make sense? And then it's like education, you're looking at the whole tax system, the business system of it. It's all tax-free. And then it's like you look into who owns all of that, and then it's like they've got their mates who have construction companies, and they're like, yeah, no dramas, Maddie, come and build this new you got the contract, build this massive $30 million lab, and it's all tax-free. How does that make sense?
It is wild, man.
Yeah. Look, I know, maybe that's privileged view as well, because like we should be grateful as well that we do have the ability to learn and go to these schools and have free education like we do in Australia. I mean, free to some extent. But yeah, just the other side of it, that you're right. Like there is alternative education. The information businesses was by 2025 is going to be, I think, over $1 billion a day industry. So it's definitely, that's where we're going.
And those who know, it's very easy to see, because we now have buddies who are extremely educated in certain niches, and they're able to really help people, like transform lives of young men, young women, young entrepreneurs, young CEOs, etc. But the point is to be able to package that for like $3,000, whereas you go traditional education system, it's 30,000 plus. So yeah, the education system is changing, and I think there's that huge transfer from the old school style that people are just freaking sick of.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to work in a cubicle anymore. Nobody wants to be malnourished with the sunlight. People want to have access to sunlight. People want to be able to go to the toilet when they want. People want to be able to eat their foods when they want. Because I know, man, I can't be employed anymore. Number one, I'm a terrible employee. But number two, I've got a business mind now.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into that. So when did you first start this? I know there's a bit of a crossover between, helping people, but obviously to be a business owner, you got to have certain type of skill set and a certain type of intentions. You got to make money. This is the world we live in. What was that journey now? Because you've done this for a while. What was your first taste of business? Were you working somewhere before? Go take us through that journey, if you don't mind.
For sure. So there's a long story and there's a short story. If I go back to 2015, I taught English in Cambodia for about 6 months. In that time, I was there with my best friend backpacking around, and we met a fella. He started a skateboard school. So I started, first of all, teaching skateboarding, and then I started teaching English through that school. But I saw other people working online, and I saw other people sustainably working online. And I was looking around, and I knew at that time, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be able to sustain this lifestyle. I want to have this freedom to be able to work from where I want, when I want. So I was on a journey since then to figure out how I can find my niche online. So I came back to Australia, and my mother was really unhappy with her job. She was working in corporate. She's a naturopath. She's a naturopathic practitioner, and she was working for a company called Modere, which is a natural medicine company.
That's massive. So she was there, mate.
Yeah. So they do like probiotics, enzymes, natural medicine in that sense, but they also do chemical-free household products. So she designed a lot of the products that we use actually on our gut repair program. But the point there is she was unhappy in that environment. So she knew from the information, she was doing the program, she was formulating the products, she knew that she could essentially start her own program, reach more people, help more people, but also free herself from that corporate 9 to 5. So I've come back, my mum's in this transition. I've helped her come onto social media. I've helped her launch the business onto social media.
Yeah.
So from there, that wasn't traditional business.
Yeah, 2015, that was definitely different what you were doing then.
Yeah, no, being online, I mean, because, I didn't have overheads. I wasn't paying staff. So my first introduction to, I guess, business or helping people, because that's essentially what business is. I think business, entrepreneurship, like some of these words, they can be a bit cliche because it has such a heavy energy sometimes around them.
Yeah.
So when I say like business, if you're in business, you're in business of helping people. Simple and plain.
Value exchange.
You can't do bad business because you're not going to get referrals, you're not going to get lifetime customers, etc., etc. And that is essentially what business is. You want people referring to their family and friends, and you want lifetime customers. You want people that continue to order each month. So that was my introduction, was online business. And I've been doing that now for the last 4 years. And I've been helping my clients. I've been marketing my business. I've learned a lot about marketing. I've also been continuing to study underneath my mother.
Yeah.
And learning and doing my own studies there, etc.
Yeah, awesome. So about 4 years now.
Yeah, 4 years. But within our industry, it's called social retail. So a lot of my clients, once they reach their goal weight, they're like, well, what now? Like, I've gone through this whole journey and I've reached my goal. I don't want this to finish. I still want to be part of the community.
Yeah.
We now have 14,000 people in our Facebook community group.
Wow, that's crazy. That's a solid effort.
Exactly.
And obviously that didn't happen overnight, eh? Like
nah.
Yeah, that's solid work. That's great. And there's a lot of, like we're talking about, like lives being changed, like 14,000 people, specifically like gut health, like that. I know some people that really struggle with that, they got such low energy, like it's impacting how they perform at work. And you would probably see that, like, that's pretty interesting. Like, what have you seen personally, like in these transformations, like besides physically feeling better? Have you seen like people actually like increase income, like, like they're better people to be around because they're in better moods? Like, what have you seen through the transitions you've had?
Heaps, man, heaps. I had thousands and thousands of mentees, to be totally honest. Just to finish on that last topic. So I have a lot of my mentees, they reach the goal weight and they're like, what do we do now? I then offer them, because they purchase their products each month and they refer so many people, I say, you can get your products for free because you're referring so many people. I then offer them and I say, hey, are you interested in becoming a mentor? You're someone who I want to work with. They say yes if they're qualified for that. So they then become a mentor with Learn to Live Again, and they're able to help other people mentoring on the programs. So I now have a community of 100 mentors, 100 coaches within my community, and my role with that non-traditional business that I was talking about is to help those mentors who are using the programs to help their clients, to help their community. So a lot of my days are just spent, I suppose, helping my mentors, which are in my community, making sure they have health questions answered by Isha, and helping them market also themselves so they can reach more people. So that was my introduction. It wasn't traditional business. And then about a year ago, because I work from home and I have a 2020 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, I bought it for like 36,000, whatever. And it had just been sitting there. I'm like, I'm not freaking using my car. Like, I'm sure that I can rent this out or something like that. So I then put it online on a website called Car Next Door, and I started renting it out, and I was making $1,500 a month from renting my car out.
That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Renting out for 20 days out of 30 days. So then that just triggered. I was just like, what? There's a demand for vehicles online.
No way. I didn't even know that was a thing then.
Yeah, exactly. So I bought a second car and I'm just about to get a third. So the point there is I've now been dabbling in traditional business in the sense that I market my vehicles not only on these platforms, on these car rental platforms, but I also put it into marketplace and Facebook groups. Yeah. So I have my own contract that I have online. Somebody signs a document to cover the renter and also myself.
Yeah.
And get them on the insurance. And so yeah, that's like a new business.
So you've got 2 at the moment running.
Yeah.
So it's like Airbnb but for your car.
Basically, man.
Dude, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really exciting as well because I suppose, man, business is selfish. You buy yourself, usually. Yeah. Usually that is. So like where it becomes, I suppose, purposeful and meaningful and all of that and mission, gives you a bit of mission in life, is being able to help others. Others make money or just being able to help other people. So with business, I love to be able to help others. So we're at the moment, we're creating a platform which is similar to your traditional Car Next Door online rental platforms. But this platform is going to be also for people who want to rent Uber Eats. They want to drive Uber Eats so that they can have affordable vehicles on this platform that they can rent for like $150 a week sort of thing. So it's this new idea of this emerging market. And
that's pretty smart, man. Like if you get the right people around you and the right business partners, that sounds like it will do very good actually.
Yeah. So this is what really excites me at the moment, and that's traditional business.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's like genuinely a good idea, man. Like I think that's gonna do well. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm really excited about at the moment with traditional business. I don't have a world of knowledge, but what I do know is how to market, and I've learned that. And I reckon that's something that you relate to a lot, in the sense that it's just putting one foot in front of the other every day. Like you can't see it in the micro, but when you zoom out in the macro, you're like, holy shit, now I understand. I had to go through that in order to become the person I want to be.
Yeah. It's very hard in the moment. Yeah, you're right. Like something shit happens and you're like, for fuck's sake. And then it's like time passes and you're like, oh man, I would not be here except for that bad situation. That's why mindset's so important because people can get wiped out with a bad experience if they don't see the upsides as well. And like that's why it's so important. You can't be if you're clear on your mission, your purpose, your goals, they're aligned with your top 5 values. You're not volatile, you're not emotionally reactive. That way if something does come up, you're not just thrown off and off course and then you take weeks to come back to where you were. And then by that time you've missed out on a bunch. Like that's really important, to have that insight. That's a good mindset tip there. That's awesome, man. So like I want to dive back into the gut health stuff. So what are people doing wrong then at the moment, like with their health, that there might not even be like types of foods, but we've gone over tools that you can do, but foods that maybe everyone eats on a daily basis, but they don't really know the impact it's having. Like, give us a little insight to that.
For sure. The moment you said that, the first thing I thought of was freaking vegetable oil, canola oil,
disgusting,
seed oil. Brother, it's in everything.
Yeah.
It's insane. I was just like, hang on a second. And I went to look at my almond milk, my organic, the almond milk.
Organic,
and bro, it's got freaking canola oil in it.
That's what I don't understand. Like, I agree. Like, I was looking on the back of the thing, like everything, vegetable oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, all the seed oils. Like why? Like, are they in the manufacturing? All almond milk is almonds soaked in water. Like, are they just there like, oh yeah, a bit of vegetable? Well, like, why?
Just a dash of this.
Yeah, like this makes it taste better. Like that doesn't even make
sense. Let them be too healthy now.
Yeah. Like what the fuck? Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. All the oils, seed oils.
So that's kind of the new thing that's awareness is shifting, And I just really encourage everyone next time you go to the supermarket, don't look at the nutritional information because that's just bullshit. That is just bullshit to look at like the fat, protein, da 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 da. But what you want to be looking at is the ingredients list.
Yeah.
That's what you want to be looking at. And a good rule is generally if a product has over 12 ingredients in it, it means that it's highly processed.
Yeah, that's a good rule. I like that. Nice. Again, you're really good at giving these simple tips, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So if it's got more than 12, that's kind of general rule of thumb you go by.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, bro. We're human. You know what I mean? Like,
you can't be a robot. We live in this world. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we live in mega cities, you know, where we live in these environments. You know, we know that food, it isn't grown in our own backyards. We don't have control over the food, you know, how it's grown, etc. So you're only human. Like a lot of these things, when I talk about it with friends and talk about like, oh, what are foods to avoid, or drinking and eating, and seed oils in all of our products, you know, like sunflower oil, canola oil, but it's not to get sick thinking about it. Like, oh, like shit, you know, now I can't do this, and now I can't go out with the boys, or now I can't have a nice meal with my girlfriend, my partner, you know, now I can't do this or that. Don't get sick thinking about it because it can make you more sick.
Because we talk about the placebo, like even that. Like you might be eating all these vegetables, but if you don't think they're bad, then it's not really bad technically based on our argument before. But totally. I totally agree.
Do you know what I mean? But look, the main foods, is the classic 4 trigger foods. And that's the likes of your gluten. So that's bread and pasta.
Mm-hmm.
That's the likes of your dairy. That's milk and cheese. That's the likes of your refined sugar. That's soda and candy. And then the 4th is deli meats. And that's salami, ham, pepperoni.
And so by trigger foods, that's something that triggers an inflammatory response.
Yes.
And is that in most people? Because like I've done a bit of research on this myself. So like when you say gluten and things like that, I know it's like a bit of a spectrum. Is this just like most people have this effect in your experience, or like?
For sure. So this is my knowledge of it. And just disclaimer, I'm not a health professional, but this is just information that I've studied myself. And this is actually how it works. So as you eat gluten, it's a bigger protein. And that bigger protein, it shouldn't go directly into the bloodstream. It should be filtered out. But if you have some gut issues, which means that in your gut, there's these little hair-like fibers, and they're called villi. Yeah. So basically, in between these villi, there's junctions. And if you have an inflamed gut, it means that these junctions, they get bigger.
That's leaky gut, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So if you're having lots of gluten, and if you're having lactose, and you don't have the enzyme lactase to break down the lactose, because anyone that has a lactose intolerance, they just don't have the enzyme lactase.
Yeah. Which I think most humans have that, right? Like most people lack that enzyme.
We do. But the thing is, it was designed so we could digest our mother's breast milk.
Yeah.
But after 8 years old, we stopped producing it as much because there's not as much needed to break it down. So that's why actually dairy, and specifically like refined, processed, etc. dairy can cause inflammation, because you imagine the junctions of the gut villi, you've now got an inflamed gut just from lifestyle, from environmental factors, etc. right?
Yeah, totally.
You've now got the bigger proteins, you've now got toxins like coffee, alcohol. They go directly into the bloodstream through those junctions and the villi of the gut. And then you have the blood, which now has the toxins in it, and the body comes in to clean the blood because it goes, whoa, those toxins shouldn't have got into the bloodstream. We need to clean this ASAP. And in that process, it starts attacking its own good cells. So anyone that has an autoimmune response, they're having these bigger toxins getting into their bloodstream. The body's coming to clean the blood, but in the process, it starts attacking itself. And that's what an autoimmune response is.
Yeah, and it's also like when they're trying to clean those toxins, that's what the inflammatory response is. Like that's interesting. Yeah. You're talking about tight junctions, because I did quite a lot of study on this stuff. It was real interesting, right? So everyone talks about glyphosate not being good, but like when I dived into it, the real reason glyphosate's not good is actually because it breaks down, it gets into your body, it actually breaks down the cell wall of your tight junctions, which is crazy. So then we've got this increase in gluten intolerance because the tight junctions through glyphosate are being broken down. Even deeper, we're talking about seed oils, right? There's something called Deuterium. I think I'm gonna butcher. I've read on it. It's a big molecule name. These seed oils are high in concentration in that. So normally it's naturally occurring, but when it's high in concentration, what happens is it goes into our skin. So UV from the sun it hits our skin, and it actually interacts with cholesterol in our skin to produce vitamin D. That's part of the synthesis. And when you're eating seed oils which are high in deuterium, I think it's deuterium, I can't really remember, that actually prevents that, this the vitamin D being produced, because it binds to cholesterol. And so we got this binding of cholesterol, which prevents synthesis of vitamin D. And then that is a whole big chain reaction. And then you've got the blockage of, the tight junction cell wall. And then like you're getting a leaky gut, you're not producing enough vitamin D. And like, this is like vitamin D and C, they're very closely related. And it's like, there's so much study coming out now about how we need, vitamin D, partner with the K2 and all of that, because like it literally increases like calcium production, your bone density goes up. Like there's so much stuff on it now. And it's like, that's the reason glyphosate's bad, and seed oils. It's like, it's so much deeper. You're literally getting like DNA damage. And like there's studies out there, like there's a group of scientists that tried to do a research on the glyphosate and the effect on generational toxicity. They literally worked within the EPA, right? Environmental Protection Agency, who's partnered with the FDA, and they work together. They're working within the EPA. They're like quite high up. They do this study and they're like, hey, glyphosate's literally causing generational toxicity. Like this is not good. And then the next year, EPA brought out this legislation to prevent new types of studies on generational toxicity. And I was like, mate, this is insane. Like this is deep corruption at like the highest level. And it's like, luckily people are just becoming aware of it. But like glyphosate, it goes down in the rainwater. It goes into in the cloud and the water system. Then when it rains, it's like, even if you've got an organic farm, you're raining down glyphosate now. And it's like, fuck, what do you do? Like,
what is glyphosate?
Glyphosate, it's what they use in Roundup and weed
killer.
Oh,
so I was saying glyphosate.
Oh, I think it's either way. Americans can say it one way. I could be saying it wrong, to be honest.
Sure, bro. Who cares? But no, you're right. That's such a
crazy stuff, man. I love that stuff. I go so deep into that, and I love it. Like,
that's my thing as well, and that's like why, in an ideal world, we would live on small, self-sustainable farms. Would have a relationship with our foods. We would kill our chickens with our hands. We would know what went into that. We would know the sacrifice, so we would be more mindful when we're eating the protein.
That's it, man.
Etc. And we would be, when we're growing our foods, we would have biodiverse soil. Our animals would die and go into the soil. Therefore, you now have nutrient-rich soil. And that's the thing.
I love that. That's awesome, yeah. And like ties into spirituality. We were talking about it just before this call. If you're mindful, you're around, like, we're going to get a bit woo-woo, everyone, but like, there's frequency, everything's energy and frequency. And it's like something you can imagine, mega city that's got low nutrition dense soil, and the animals are suffering because they're just there. They know that they're conscious that they're just existing, and the sole purpose of being killed and mass marketed and fed to humans who don't even know where that's coming from. And then it's just this low vibrational energy being passed around, creating this big vortex of like capitalism. But like, yeah, you're so right. Like, back in the days, you knew where it was coming from. It wasn't just like, I'm eating this. It's like you don't even need to say a prayer almost. Like, you already know you're grateful of that food that you're going to eat, and the life it's had because you've seen it live the life. You've seen it wake up through the summers and the winters and the springs, and you've seen it go through it all. Like, yeah, I totally agree, man. Like, what's your take on like spirituality and like the types of foods you eat? And, have you gone through your own ascension of, once you started becoming more mindful and conscious of these type of practices you follow?
Yeah, for sure, man. So I grew up very spiritual in the sense that my mother, I was in a Christian school growing up.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
And although my mother was Christian, with my stepdad, her partner, my father was atheist, so it was to his disgust.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? That my dad's an old school hippie. He used to have dreadlocks down to his knees.
Yeah, unlikely couple then, far out.
Basically,
also similar.
yeah, exactly, but also very different. So the point is that I always grew up questioning. You know, I always knew. And the point is that now when I meditate, or for me, you know, my church is just watching a sunrise or a sunset or being out in nature. I get the same feeling when I used to pray, and when I meditate, I get the same feeling of watching the sunset.
That's awesome, man. I feel that. I totally understand, because I was saying, brought up Roman Catholic. I went to Wednesday after school, went to go do like Jesus studies, and like went on Sundays. Like I totally agree. There's a similar connection there of it's like a faith, which is a believing in something that doesn't have a true experience, but you kind of just trust. I appreciate that. That's very true.
Yeah, man. So look, like from a young age, I was questioning a lot. And I guess that, you know, to answer your question, what are certain foods that I suppose make you feel more enlightened and all of this? The last year, man, I've definitely gone a bit away from spirituality, and it hasn't been purposeful. It's just been, I've been caught up in the business grind, in personal development, but following business personal development of leadership, this or that. So when I was saying that business can be selfish, it can be, and I've noticed that because I've gone away from spirituality, which that's my true essence. That is where I feel connected, and that's where I feel real happiness, is when I have that connection to God, source energy, nature, environment, whatever you want.
That's interesting, because it's like you were close. You've had to go through this journey, like the hero's journey, and now it's because of that you've realized where you need to go back to. That's really interesting how the brain works, hey?
Isn't it? Yeah. So, you know, like when I say there that I've been more business minded, that also means that I've been using my time better. So I haven't been cooking as much at home. I've been ordering meals, which are without preservatives. Don't get me wrong, these are great meals. But that's the sort of mindset I've been in. I've been like, go.
Different cycles, isn't there? Like different seasons, 100%. Like I totally get what you're saying. Like you do something for a certain period of time, and that was your bread and butter, and you absolutely, you know, you followed it to a T. But then, just life changes. You do different, habits because of the environment you're in. Yeah, I respect that. That makes sense. Yeah,
100%. Look, and the number one best thing that we could do to be better people, to feel more connected to God, by respecting ourselves, is I'm biased because I'm a coach, I'm a mentor for Learn to Live Again gut repair program, but is to do a gut repair program.
Yeah.
Because you're...
No, I mean, enlighten me. That sounds good. I'm interested in that. Yeah.
100%. And what does that mean? It means that you're structuring how you should be eating. Okay. If you were to go see a naturopath, it'll cost $180 first consultation. What they're going to do is they're going to ask you about your diet, etc. They're going to give you a meal plan to follow, a low reactive meal plan, as I was saying, eliminating the reactive foods, the gluten, dairy, refined sugar, deli meats. So you've now got a meal plan to follow, but they're also going to do a live blood analysis. So they're going to have a look at your blood and see what deficiencies that you have. They're then going to recommend products to correct those nutritional deficiencies. So that's what seeing a naturopath is. So the point of bringing this back is that is the best thing, because you realize that you need to be having protein with every meal. It's a non-negotiable. And why? Why do we have protein with every meal? Because it helps satiation. It helps to feel satisfied longer. It helps with the blood sugar spikes. Therefore, you've got more stable energy. You've got more mental clarity. So you should always be breaking a fast with protein.
Yeah.
Always. That should be the first thing, like 50 grams of chicken, 100 grams of chicken. Break your fast with protein. That way you're not breaking it with a piece of fruit, which is the status quo, right? They tell us that fruit is a really good thing. You know what I mean? Eat as much fruit as you can, but still the body recognizes fruit as sugar. So as soon as you wake up, you don't want to be spiking your blood sugar level because you're going to crash.
Yeah. Yeah, which like I agree. I think it was necessary when we were hunter-gatherers, because it's like you needed to get whatever type of food you could get. But it's like, now in this world, if you want to perform, if you like, A, want to be performing well, but like B, like energy throughout the day, not spiking the stuff, because then what goes up must come down. You're gonna have to crash. Yeah.
100%. So it's following some of those things, which is everything that we teach in the gut repair program. And if anyone at all throughout this conversation is interested in anything I do, at the end, I'll give my Instagram, and definitely hit me up. Any medical conditions maybe you're facing, any questions, I'll be able to get them answered for you and go to work. But it's a really simple solution, really.
Yeah.
And that's following a low reactive meal plan, learning about protein, learning about portion sizes, learning about mono eating as a tool to repair the gut. And that's just like a detox, doing that once every 3 months, once every 6 months, 12 months, intuitively when you feel that you need.
Which is when it's healing the gut, right? Because it gives it more time. Yeah.
For sure.
No, that's awesome, man. I think honestly that's pretty much covered all because we're coming up to an end now. But like, yeah, since we're on it, like, where do people find you, bro?
For sure. So I'm on Facebook with my name being Tynan Dwight Jervis, or you can find me on Instagram as Coach Tynan. So that's Coach Tynan. I'm also on TikTok as well as Coach Tynan.
Yeah.
But mainly I use Instagram. So yeah, you can hit me up on there, and I'd love to be able to help you because I've firsthand for the last 4 years seen month after month, 30 of my clients go through a health transformation, get their energy back. They feel good. They look good. Relationship gets better with their partner. Some people message me saying like, wow, like I feel sexy again. Now, having good sex with my partner. To hear that for me, it's just like, I don't know, that's rewarding, to be part of someone's health journey,
That's awesome, man. Yeah, well, look, I'm going to keep it all in the description on YouTube, Spotify, when I'm posting on Instagram as well. But dude, thanks so much for the chat. There's a lot of value here. I've learned a lot personally, which I'm going to take around. And yeah, dude, I really appreciate the time today. And yeah, thanks so much. And enjoy the rest of your day, brother.
Back at you, man. Really, thank you so much for having me on, man.
No
I'd love to
worries,
come on
bro.
again one time.
Thanks, brother.